Hello friends, I'm Shifali Gidrawal and I would like to welcome all of you for this webinar organized by ClearText. And I would like to thank the ClearText team for organizing such a wonderful webinar and all of their efforts during this lockdown period. So today's webinar is about Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is announced by our Prime Minister. And after that, the 2 lakh thousand, 2 lakh crore package, which is being introduced by our finance minister. I know it's difficult because the package in itself is very difficult to understand. But there is one important thing, and that thing is that surely there is something for the MSME sector. And most of the chartered accountants, most of us fall in the MSME sector. So there can be something good for us in that entire package. Maybe it's not that good for the other people. Because some people were expecting some direct benefit in terms of tax or stimulus, some direct stimulus to them, but there is nothing like that going to happen. Apart from that, let us have a look on the topic for the day. So first of all, we will have an overview of the speech of our finance minister. Then we will discuss about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Then there are some GST issues also, and being a GST practitioner, I will also discuss upon some important GST issues which are relevant during this lockdown period. So there are issues related to input tax credit for the entities who are working in this lockdown. So many industries are allowed to work. Then the taxability of continuous contract center GST. I will be discussing upon that. And then the eligibility of refund, it is not even reflecting in GSTR 2 because the GSTR 1 and 3B of entire MSME sector, or say the sector where the turnover is less than 5 crore, is postponed, then certainly there will be no reflection in GSTR 2A. So how I will be able to take the credit in that case. So these are three issues related to GST that we will be discussing. Let us move forward. So you can see all of these webinars, the recording of all of the webinars of ClearText organizing at the various date and time. You can see all of those recordings at their YouTube channel. So you just need to go to their YouTube channel and subscribe it so that you will be able to watch all of those recordings. So you can watch it at a later date also in case you get occupied at this point of time. So first of all, we all were expecting some kind of stimulus package. And what is a stimulus package? We can, maybe connect it from some events of the past when something like a tax reform or a stimulus package were declared earlier in the history. So if I recall the fall of 2008, slowdown of 2008, that was very, kind of tense period. At that time, we needed a stimulus package. Then again, when India conducted their nuclear testing, after that, sanctions by all of the major countries, all of the developed countries like US, UK, Russia, they put sanctions on India, and at that time also our economy had to suffer a lot. I remember Yashwant Sinha was the finance minister at that time. So at that time also there were so many tax reforms or stimulus packages. So what type of tax reforms and stimulus package we are used to have earlier, and what is the difference at this point of time? So earlier there were tax reforms like, if you remember, like tax cut in the duty. At that time there was excise duty and service tax. So a tax cut of say 2% in the excise duty, or setting up of industry in the new area or the new zone, and having the tax holiday for a period of say 5 years or the 10 years. So those kind of tax packages were there, those kind of stimuluses were there earlier in the regime. But at this point of time, if you see, this time there is no stimulus or there is no benefit in terms of taxation. So there are some difficult and hard times also, and I would like to explain it through an example, a very simple example, and I hope that all of you will be able to connect with this example. Let us say the taxable income starts after 5 lakh rupees. So after 5 lakh, I'm required to pay tax on my income. Now, everyone, no matter how much they are earning, they have a set of expense to the tune of their earning, and we have some kind of fixed expenses like the, if you have a rented apartment, then rent. If you have a loan on housing property, so if you own a house property but you have a loan, so see, if your income is like 5 lakh per year, your house will be small and your loan will be small. if you have income like 50 lakh rupees, your house will be bigger, your loan will be bigger, but ultimately you will have such kind of liability to pay. Then school fees of your children. So again, like for the people who are in low earning group, their school the fees of their children will be less. And if you are earning too much, the school fee will be higher. It will be high. But the thing is that we have some certain expenses, some certain payout liabilities which incur each and every month irrespective of our income. Now, what happened? Say there were only 2 or 3 months of this year were spent, were even like remaining. At that time, there was a complete lockdown. Then there is relaxation in lockdown. Then there is more relaxation in lockdown, and then there will be the complete relaxation in lockdown. But the thing is, there are so many industries which are shut down, and they are never, ever, never, never, ever going to reopen. That's the reality. So some of them may recover, and it may also happen that in the same sector or the same field, some newcomers will be there. So say if I was running a restaurant, right? Because I was running a restaurant, I had some fixed expenses. I had the expenses towards my workers, my employees, towards the premises. It may be a rented premise, it may be acquired by me. So I may be having a loan, right? So my expenses were already there. So each and every day, there must be some expenses. Now, after the lockdown, maybe I have waited for 5 days, for 10 days, or 15
Connected now? Am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah, now it's okay. So there may be some connection problem. So now just think about it that I earn for some months of the year, but my expenses are for the complete part of that year. So maybe let's say if I was earning 12 lakh rupees, so for this particular year I earned only 6 lakh or say 2 lakh, right? But my expenses for the complete year will be almost the same because I cannot just remove my kid from a school and then do a readmission into another school, or I cannot just change my house and I will just buy a smaller house and will change my loan EMI or repayment or something. Now there is one very important thing, and that is that there should be some direct tax reduction for everyone, because in that case if there is no reduction, the people will have to pay their taxes from their money of bread and butter. So that's going to be a very dangerous situation, because for an economy to pump up, to reform it, actually people need money to spend. If they will be completely out of money, if I am paying tax to the government, so say I was earning 12 lakh rupees, now for this particular year, I earn only 5 lakh rupees. So my expense may be like 6, 7 or 8 lakh rupees for this particular year. Then now how I am supposed to pay tax? Right? So maybe 6 lakhs. So even if it is taxable, under the taxable bracket, I think there should be some waiver for the direct tax, because direct tax directly connect to the people. And if those people will have some money in their hands, they will definitely be going to, boost the economy. If they will have some money, they will spend it. They can try to, do some business. But how are we going to do a business when I will have to take so many of registration, then so many of compliances? Like all of you are chartered accountants or the working professionals, and you can understand how difficult it is to incorporate a company in India. You will apply, it will reject your form, resubmission, reject form, resubmission, reject form. I have this personal experience, like unless and until you just go to some professional and they have some kind of tactics and they will apply for the name, you can't get a proper registration. So this is going to be very, very difficult situation for all of us. So with that, I would like to say that not every news is a bad news at this point of time, and there are some news which are very good news. The stimulus package is there, and now we need to get back to our stimulus package. So first thing it did is that it changed the definition of MSME. because some of the industries were not growing enough. They were, they're scared of growing up to a level because they didn't wanted to use the lose the benefits of MSME. Although it's very difficult to say, like when someone is growing, they just can't stop their growth because they will lose the benefit of MSME. But what they did, and in that particular case, they start to create new entities, and they divert their businesses to those new entities, so that all of those entities will be under the definition of MSME instead of growing one entity to a particular level. So that was the case. So first thing our finance minister did was they increased the threshold for MSME. So first of all, let us have a small look about the definition which is changed. So now, what is the definition of MSME? The micro unit will be where the investment is less than 1 crore rupees and annual turnover is less than 5 crore rupees. We need to understand one thing: the word "and" is used here. So both of the conditions are required to be fulfilled together. Then for this small entity, the investment should be less than 10 crore rupees and the turnover should be less than 50 crore rupees. For the medium category, the investment should be 20 crore rupees, less than 20 crore rupees, and the turnover should be less than 100 crore rupees. Now, for the investment, there are different things. There are different plant and machineries, and like if you are into service sector and you buy computer and systems also, so that is also covered under plant and machinery. The investment is required to be into those things. So this is the changed definition of MSME itself. Now, these are some of the relief measures. Let me cover something more about the MSME. First of all, MSME is not covering the traders. So only the manufacturers and the service sector people are covered under MSME. So the professionals are covered under the MSME. So the traders, they cannot take registration under the MSME scheme because the scheme was made for the people who are generating some new industry, who are developing something new, and they feel like this is the mentality of thought process of the government, that the people who are just trading, they're just the middleman and they are not producing something new. So traders are out of this MSME scheme, but the working professionals and the service class professionals like chartered accountants, we can definitely register for the MSME. Now let us have some relief measures. EPF support for the business and workers, it was released earlier also. So the benefit is just extended. Central government funding towards the employer and employees contribution of establishment having mostly low wage earners is extended by 3 months. So earlier it was already extended, but now it will be up to August 2020. Then statutory PF contribution of both the employer and employee will be reduced to 10% each from the existing 12% for the next 3 months. Like if they don't have work, I don't understand that how this reduction from 12 to 10 is going to work for them, but that is also one of the relief measure. Then the various due dates for the various compliances under the direct tax and the indirect tax are extended. For the indirect tax, the due dates were already extended. For the direct tax, they have also declared some of the extension. So the returns where you are not liable for the tax audit, the date is extended up to 30th of November. Income tax return which are liable for tax audit, again 30th November. Tax audit reports, it's 31st October. The assessment which are getting time barred. So this is the extension for the department's point of view also. It will be 31st of December. For the assessments which were getting barred on up to 31st March 2021. So it is in advance extended to 30th of September 2021. Then Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, it is extended to 31st December without any prepayment condition. Then reduction in the TDS and TCS rates under the Income Tax Act. So the TDS rates are on the board, across the board, it is slashed by 25%. We need to remember one thing, it is not slashed for the salaried class. For the salaried people, it is not slashed, and there is a reason. Like so many people ask this question, why it is not done for the salaried people, and there is a reason behind that. You will see, in case of professional, what happens? TDS is 10%, irrespective of your income, right? So if you are in a low income group, then 10% may be too much of your income, because it may happen that my actual profits were very less, right? But 10% is deducted. But in case of salaried employees, how we deduct the TDS? We deduct the TDS on the basis of actual income he will be going to earn. So it is almost equal to their actual tax payment. But in case of say professional income or other incomes, it's not, there is no such rationale. So if it's like 10%, or 10% may be too much for that person. So at this point of time, when someone is already, deprived of money, and then keeping their money like 10% of their total receipts into TDS account, it's definitely a hardship. So for that purpose, the TDS across the board is slashed, except the salaried class. So you can see the chart of various rates here. These are various rates. You're already aware of the rates, so you can just go through the chart later on. Then let us see some of the relief measures for the MSME. The emergency credit line to the businesses MSMEs available till 31st March 31st October 2020. Credit line limit is increased to 20% of the entire outstanding credit as of 29 February 2020. Okay. If you will see this particular year, it was very hard on all of the businesses, especially MSME. So earlier the ILFS slash that also created a liquidity crunch in the entire market. So the NBFC sector, they were out of liquidity. So there was a requirement of so many measures to fill the market with liquidity, because if liquidity is there, a lot of things can happen. Like if you're giving the loan to the MSME sector, what will happen? They will be able to employ the new people. Although one interesting thing which our finance minister also reiterated in her speech, she said that there are so many loans which are already disbursed, but people are not willing to take them. People are not coming to take the release. She said the checks are ready, but people don't want to take those checks. Why? Today only I see the letter of management from the Creamville ice cream, right? And the Devyani Industries, and I saw that they said that ice cream market is already very competitive, and now after the COVID-19, I don't think people are going to eat the ice cream from outside for the entire summer season. So there is no sense in continuing the plant. So if say like, even if I am able to sell say 1,000 or 2,000 ice creams, but my plant can manufacture like 1 crore ice creams, so I will not going to run that plant for those 1,000 or 2,000 ice creams, because I can sell them. It will be better for me to shut the plant down, because its fixed cost or operating cost, not just the labor and the staff, but its fixed cost will be too much that it will keep incurring losses to me. So even if I take a loan, even if I go for an MSME loan, even if my credit is extended, unless and until I can make some revenue out of it, because I have to pay interest on that. It's not an interest-free loan. It's not a subsidized loan. Then what will be the benefit for me? So even after that, some of the industries won't be able to survive this corona period, but other industries may be lucky enough to survive this period. So there is increase in the credit line to the 20% of entire outstanding credit as on 29 February 2020. Now, if you will see it on individual basis, it means if you already had the credit from the MSME scheme, only then your credit will be extended. What I have personally experienced, if you will go to a bank and if you will ask for a MSME loan, what happens? What I have seen in most of the cases, banks will deny at your face that we don't give any MSME loan. Go to PSU bank. And if you will go to a PSU bank, they won't be knowing 90% of the procedure. And again, the chances of disbursement of that particular loan are very, very, very remote. So the main problem is banks are not ready to disburse the MSME loan. I think you may also have faced the same thing, that if you will go to the bank for an MSME loan, either there must be some specific professional related to MSME. I have so many times I've discussed it with very senior bank officials also. and they categorically deny. They said that yes, we don't, disburse these MSME loans because they are not that beneficial. We have to pass on the schemes. So most of that burden is at PSU banks like SBI. So SBI have to bear a lot of losses because of these kind of loans. So again, if I'm just increasing the credit line of the existing loan holders, but instead of giving the new loans, it will definitely not serve the purpose. Then businesses with outstanding borrowings up to 25 crore and turnover up to 100 crore are eligible for it. Loans tenure is 4 year with a moratorium of 12 months on principal payment. Now this 12 months of moratorium, just like the installment for the normal loans, housing loans and various loans we earlier had when it was announced by the finance minister in her earlier press release. So now the question is, even if you are getting a moratorium, your interest is not waived off. Do you understand this thing? If for the 12 months I have a loan and I'm not paying an installment, okay, moratorium is there, I'm not paying an installment. But after 12 months, how much interest you will have to pay? Say if my loan is of say 2 crore rupees. So for the 2 crores, maybe I'm paying some kind of installment every month. So my principal and interest both are reducing by that amount. But if I'm not paying any installment after 12 months, what will happen? There will be a huge amount of interest piled up. So I don't understand what is the benefit of this process. Instead of this, it would have been better if they just waived off the interest for say 6 months, just waived off the interest, waive it off. And what is the process of banks to work? What I have faced, like, I just don't want to be, a critic of government or anybody, but this is the problems which I have faced in the system. Have you ever experienced that when you have a housing loan and if RBI slash the repo rates, what banks do, they will never ever going to slash your loan rate, even if it is fluctuating. But if bank decide to increase the interest rate, so if you want to reduce your rate, what you will have to do, you will have to go to bank, and then bank will charge some fees like 4,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, depending on the amount of loan. They will charge some fees and then they will give you the benefit of reduced rate prospectively, right? But when the rate is increased by RBI, and even if it is not increased by RBI, but bank decide that okay, we are going to increase our interest rate, they will increase your loans interest and they won't tell you. They won't even bother to mail you. And after some time, you will come to know that okay, my interest rate is increased, right? So when you can increase an interest rate without telling the taxpayer, without telling the person who has taken the loan, why you don't just reduce it at the time of reduction? And when there is a reduction from RBI in the interest rate, what banks will do, they will reduce the FD and savings rate, but they will not reduce their loans rate for a long period, unless and then there is a complete theory of that, okay, that is repo rate, then there is a base rate, our base rate is this, that is how we calculate it. Okay, you are calculating it, but when you increase with the increase, then please reduce with the reduction. So that is the another problem. See, where we need to work, the dispersal of loan for the new people, the one who already have, they must be having some good connection and contacts and the love letters from the departments and ministries, that I totally understand. But the people who don't have it, so first of all, give some relief to the businesses and easy dispersal of the loan for the people. Only then this scheme will be a successful scheme. So moratorium of 12 months, how much benefit it will provide to some of the industries, maybe they are not in situation to pay at all, and if they feel that okay, in the 12 months they will be able to earn this much, that they will be able to pay the prospective interest plus the interest for this 12 months period. Then 100% credit guarantee cover to banks and NBFCs on principal and interest, and no fresh collateral. No fresh collateral required. See, fresh collateral, it means the earlier loan to an MSME was for collateral, and now if you will go for a fresh loan, again you need a collateral. So I don't have a collateral, I cannot get loan, and I cannot start a new business. So this is something like, if you want to give the guarantee, just give it to the eligible businesses, see their profile, see their profit making for some time when they're starting, and then disburse the loan who actually can do a business and can make the repayment of those loans. Debt for stressed MSMEs. So the central government facilitated the provision of 20,000 crore as subordinate debt for the benefits of 2 lakh MSMEs. Who those 2 lakh MSMEs are? That's very important. Functioning MSME with NPAs are stressed will be eligible. So the MSMEs who are already having NPAs, I don't know when the other MSMEs who are more eligible, they were not disbursed any loan. Why the MSMEs who convert into NPA? Why only? First of all, you provide them with the loan, and then when they become a stressed asset, we provide them support. The 4,000 crore to be allotted to Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro and small. So now this is important for the micro and small enterprises. Will provide the partial credit guarantee supports to the bank. So government will provide the fund to these entities, and they will provide the credit guarantee to the banks. Then equity infusion for the MSME through funds of funds. Now, this is important. The 10,000 crore corpus to be set up for providing the equity funding to the MSMEs with a growth potential and viability. So, now see, the provision is very good. If there is the proper implementation of this process, this provision is very good. Equity funding for MSMEs with growth potential and viability. If you will see, there are so many sectors who are going to see a downfall, but there are so many sectors who are going to see a boom. Education sector. Look at the education sector, because this lockdown period has taught us very new things, so many new things. Like earlier, even I was used to feel that I can never ever work from home. Every day I'm supposed to go to the office and then sit with the employees, give them direction, follow up. Only then work can be done. But during this period, even I understand that, okay, it's possible and it's not that difficult. So for the education sector, the entire learning, teaching, training sector, it can boom, it can boost because the physical building, the buildings, the infrastructure in a school, like electricity, these fans and everything, arranging all of those things is very difficult and make education very, very, very expensive for India. But in case of online education, it can be very cheap and it can reach to every corner of India. A kid sitting in very small town, even he can learn from someone very senior person sitting in a very high-end company or in a very high-end say area or the location. So now they can get training from those people. So what I can see, the education sector is going to have a boom. So the MSMEs who have the growth potential, so education sector has a lot of potential at this point of time. Health sector, it has a lot of potential again. Then there are so many sectors, the other sectors also. What other sectors can be there? Food delivery at home, grocery stores at home who are delivering at home. They can be another very buzzing sector. So some of the entities are already into these business, but so many newcomers can be there. In past say 10 to 15 days, I got so many people calling me and discussing some new business vertical, and that is the beauty of this lockdown. We are losing a lot of things, but very many things are going to grow because of this thing. So many people discuss their ideas, like if I start supplying grocery into this area, if I start the home delivery of milk into this particular area, if we start something like education. So schools are not having a good software for the purpose of education. They're using Zoom kind of software. See, they don't have a proper portal for this. So there can be so many new MSMEs who can be a viable business for the future. And definitely there is a 10,000 crore corpus for those MSMEs, and they should definitely get a credit, and they should also get some tax benefit for at least 2 or 5 years of the initial phase of their profits or businesses. Help MSME companies to expand its business size as well as capacity to get listed on the stock exchange. Do you know there is also exchange for the medium and small size companies? So even a medium sized company can get listed, and there is a separate portal on the exchange for it. Yesterday I was listening to a webinar of a member of NSC, and he was telling me it can be a new business vertical for the chartered accountants also. So many of chartered accountants here in the listeners, and I will say I will say that all of you can utilize this time to explore into the new areas. So listing, so there will be so many MSMEs, there will be new SMEs or new MSMEs some of them will grow bigger in the future, and some of them maybe get listed on the bourses. So you can use this to enter into that field. Very few chartered accountants are there into that field, listing of MSMEs. So I will say it's just like a autumn season. After that, there is a lot of potential for growth for all of us. So for Mudra Shishu loan borrowers, 2% interest subvention scheme from the prompt payment up to 12 months. So if you will make payment up to 12 months, there will be a 2% deduction into your loan interest rate. The Mudra Shishu facility currently allows lending of loans of less than or equal to 50,000 per person. Ticket size is very small. See, 50,000 rupees loan, but benefit is benefit. Rupees 10,000 crore scheme for forming micro food enterprises, which will benefit 2 lakh MEFs, MFEs and on a cluster based approach. So 10,000 crore rupees scheme for forming micro food enterprises. So that can also be another area. As I told you earlier, the home delivery of food at the various places, home delivery of groceries. This can be a buzzing sector for the future, because I feel that for a long period, like people won't like to get out of the house to buy grocery and vegetables. Government enhanced the quantum of viability gap funding in the social infrastructure projects up to 30%, the VGF limited to 20% in other sectors. Viability gap funding, so there is a viable business, but there is, see, for let's say for the infrastructure projects, so there will be funding up to 30%. I hope to see a boost in infrastructure projects also. Then there is real estate. See, government will have to boost the real estate also, because they employs a lot of labor, and at this point of time, the biggest problem, the sector, the category of people who is facing the biggest problem in India is the labor class people. So boost in infrastructure sector and in real estate sector will be able to generate a new employment vertical for them. Direct listing of Indian public companies in the permitted foreign jurisdictions. So again, I will say we are not into listing. So many chartered accountants are not into this, but you can, get into this field. It's a completely new field for us. This decriminalization of the companies at violations for minor tech and procedural default. I would like to wish that our FM get the same feeling for GST also. Decriminalization and waiver of late fees and penalties for the minor breaches like late filing of return or defective filing of return, that should be there. It's a very laudable step, that decriminalizing the violations, because earlier it was the case that if I'm a director and I just give some loan, or I take some money from my company, the penalty may be like of 2 lakh rupees. Oh my God, my company is small. I don't even earn 2 lakh rupees. How I will be able to pay the penalty of 2 lakh rupees? There were so many forms. If you will see in MCA in last 2-3 years, there is a new form every month. Every month there is a new form, and penalty for non-filing is like huge, 1,000 rupees per day, or say 50,000 rupees. And how is it ease of doing business? So that was very laudable step from our finance minister. So as she also mentioned in her speech, that many sections, the number of sections are increased where the compounding is available, and the sections where some criminal offense were there into the law will be changed and it will be decriminalized. New insolvency proceeding under the IBC suspended for 1 year, because government know that there are so many industries which are going to be insolvent due to the lockdown. Either they have to shut down their business or they will have to go for insolvency. So the new proceedings are suspended for 1 year. Earlier they increased the debt limit, the credit limit to 1 crore from 1 lakh rupees. Privatization to be allowed in several key sectors in India. So private players in the coal, now that can be a good thing for the businesses, because it will develop the new opportunities for all of us. Private players in the coal sector can bid for a coal block and sell in the open market through a policy. 50 blocks will be offered to begin. So if you will see, this thing that we have very huge depositories of coal in India, and still we were used to import most of our coal requirement from outside India. So I think it will be a great step if they will start allocating the coal blocks to the private players also, and they will also be able to extract and supply it into the market. Foreign direct investment limit in the defense production has been increased to 74%. Now, this is interesting. Like we talk about Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and then we are increasing the FDI into the defense sector. Because I remember that earlier it was one of the major point of our prime minister and our ruling party that in the defense sector we will be completely self-dependent and we will not, allow any kind of foreign investment, or like we don't allow any defense parts to be developed outside India. But okay, FDI indirectly means the foreign funds will be there into India, and there will be new industry and there will be some opportunity of employment for the Indians. So from that point of view, it's a good step. PPP for airport development of around 12 airports of India. So flights are closed down for a long period. It's a good time we can develop the airports. Foreign investors for maintenance, repair and overhaul. Then power distribution units or territories to be privatized on a pilot basis. What I have felt in the past also, the every sector and every industry which is being handled by the government, they are most of the time into the losses. So what happens? They collect a lot of resources. They collect a lot of say wealth within themselves. But if you will see, their profit making is always into something mess. So I would like to welcome this step of privatization. The private players will come, and I personally believe that, see, the demand and supply, this should control the term and conditions of the market. For the labor laws also, in the labor laws, like if you have seen the state of UP, they postpone the implementation of labor laws for 3 years. So there will be no labor law for the 3 years, right? Except 3 or 4 or 5 labor laws. So it can be dangerous, and I can completely understand the situation of labor, and it may be detrimental to the labor. But on the other hand, it is beneficial also. Why? See, now, if a company is providing a good term and condition for a labor will go to them. Then they will be able to hire the quality people for their company. So I am offering something good. So what happens in the private sector generally? The companies who are offering something good to the employees, they get the good employees, right? Someone is not offering something good to the employees, they will get rest of the employees. So the good laborers, like why the same thing should not be applicable to the labor also? So there will be a lot of industries who will be able to hire the labor. They will be able to see the quality people into those, and then from that labor, the quality people and the people who don't want to work or who are not that good in the work, they can be categorized and they can be separated. So the company who is providing good terms and conditions will be able to hire the good people. And now what will happen? The other people, they will also try to do their best to get into those companies, and the other companies, they will try to improve their work condition to get those good staff for them. So it can be a good thing when we deregulate the things. It can be good, it can be betterment for the everyone. So I believe that less regulated things work more perfectly because they are derived by the natural principle of demand and supply. Unless and until there is a cartel. So government can keep an eye that, okay, these people are not making a cartel to misutilize the things. But other than that, that step is very good. Now let us come to the GST part of this entire deliberation. So there are some important points related to GST. So many industries are not working, but luckily many of them are working. And I just hope that the relaxation in the lockdown, I know like so many people don't like this idea of relaxation of in the lockdown. But if you will see in some of the countries, there is not even a complete lockdown. People are working, but people are working with caution. That is the most important. That is the key. Like I am working. So if you will see our office, it is not closed even for a single day. The only thing we did is that we had off for second and fourth Saturdays. So we, just, let it go. And now every Saturday is working for some months, say 1 or 2 months. After that, we will, like once the online processes will be okay, then we will even, again allow it. So many industries are working. And for those industries who are working, and many will start working, see the latest order of MHA, the Ministry of Home Affairs. So they have tried to give a lot of relaxation. Now you can work, but you can work with caution. So the first period was of extreme lockdown, complete lockdown. Then it was lockdown with relaxation, and now it is work with precaution. So now we are in the category of work with precaution. The people who will take proper precaution, they will be safe, right? The people who will not take precaution, they will definitely have to suffer the consequences. So now it is up to us. So earlier the government was like this, they were regulating us. Now the government has leave us on ourselves. That, okay, now you understand the danger, and now you are liable for the consequences. You need to take care of yourself. So in that manner, there are some important issues related to GST. First of all, taxability of continuous contracts under the GST. What is a continuous contract? A contract of service which is at least for 3 month period of continuation, where there is some kind of periodical billing or periodical payment, like the telephone connection, like the internet connection, like the rent, like the interest. These kind of contracts are continuous contracts. So in case of continuous contracts, the invoicing is required at the time which is decided by the agreement. So for example, let's say I have a rent agreement with you for the 2 years, right? And we decided that, okay, on the first of every month, I'll be raising an invoice to you, and you're required to pay it by the 7th of every month. So generally, the rent date is like 1 or 7th, right? Like just like the salary date. So now my contract is for say 2 years, but for the reason of this lockdown, I waived off the rent of 2 months, right? Now the question is, I am not raising an invoice for these 2 months, whether it will be a taxable supply or not. Very obvious answer is no. But now we need to read into the provision. Not raising the invoice, is it the criteria of chargeability of GST? Say I'm selling some goods to you and I don't raise the invoice. Can I say I didn't raise the invoice and I didn't charge anything? The answer is no. Because in a continuous contract, you have entered into a contract that I will make you a supply and I will be raising rupees 2 lakh per month as rent for letting you my office. The office is still let out or not? Office is still let out. You still rented it. Just because you are not raising an invoice, do you forgo the liability of the tax on the rent? We need to see the answer of everything will not lie in the provisions of GST. For this particular thing, we also need to get into the Contract Act. So Contract Act says that in case of force majeure, or when we are not being able to complete the contract, what we can do, either we can renovate it ourselves, so we can change our contract, but still there should be something in written. So what will happen for the small businesses where the rent is like say 20,000, 30,000 or 40,000, nothing will happen. But in case you have some bigger clients where the rent is like say 10 lakh rupees per month or 20 lakh or 30 lakh or 40 lakh rupees per month, in that case it's very, very important that either you try to amend the contract, or at least have some confirmation over the email from the landlord and the tenant, like both of them, that okay, there is specific waiver for these 2 months because of the lockdown due to the what is this COVID-19, and that's why the rent of 2 months is remitted. And there was a recent case law wherein it was also mentioned that if there is a written agreement, anything which is decided verbally will not hold the importance if something is written. So it's very important, not verbally, not on call. It should be in written, either in email. So it may be written in a formal email also. Then there is another thing is the eligibility of refund for accumulated ITC not reflecting in GSTR 2A. There are some important changes related to the export and export refund during this period. And like it's very surprising, like instead of making it easy and smooth, some provision inserted which are making it even difficult for the people. So the first provision was the turnover in case of goods. The value of turnover for export cannot exceed 1.5 times, that is 1.5 times of the value of same goods in the domestic market. So that was another provision. So if there is say there is a mobile phone and I'm selling that particular mobile phone for 10,000 rupees in the domestic market, I will not be eligible to refund for amount more than 15,000 rupees value for that particular mobile phone in case of export. So that is the one provision. Then another provision is that if it was through a circular, that if your credit is not reflecting in 2A, they will not give you the refund for that particular amount. And they said that earlier they were accepting the copies of invoices. So earlier they were copies of invoices. If it is not reflecting in 2A, they will ask for the copy of invoice and they will release the refund. But now they say that because of the rule 36(4), it is mandated that one of the conditions for claiming input tax credit is that it should be reflected in GSTR 2A. Then if it is not reflecting in 2A, you will not be eligible to claim its refund. So these are two important changes related to refund at this point of time. Next, ITC on the medical facilities provided to the employee. Now this is also very interesting, another very interesting part. So for the refund, what I personally feel, both of these provisions are ultra virus. I feel that even Rule 36(4) is ultra virus of CGST Act, because see, the blockage of credit, the term and condition to take the input tax credit are prescribed in section 16. There is no such condition in section 16 which says that if it is not reflecting in 2A, or the it is not uploaded by the supplier, the words used are that supplier has paid the tax of that particular amount, and we make the payment of tax through GSTR 3B and not through GSTR 1, but it is get reflected in GSTR 2A through GSTR 1 only, right? So there is no such condition under section 16, and if like they will see the courtroom, these provisions are definitely going to drop. So today there is a very interesting development. It's about seeing the courtroom and decision in the favor of SSE. So have you seen that there were so many decisions in case of transitional credit in the favor of taxpayers? And recently in case of Reliance Electric work, Delhi High Court said that in case of transitional credit, the time limit of 90 days is not applicable, which was given in rule number 117 of CGST rule, but the time limit of 3 years as per the Limitation Act will be applicable. So the time limit to file for transitional credit is June 30. Now what happened? CBIC changed. They amended that the section, that is section 140. So the basis of decision of Delhi High Court was that there is no section in the law itself, only the rule is prescribing the time limit, and when there is no substantive law, rule cannot supersede the provisions given in the law. So they changed the law retrospectively from 1st of July 2017, that is the date of applicability of GST Act itself, and they inserted the word from such dates as may be prescribed, from such date as may be prescribed at the various places of section 140, 141, 142. Right, so the law is changed retrospectively. So even in this case, like it's like a joke. Like if you go to litigation and something against revenue is there, they will change the law retrospectively. I also written an article on this, like this tradition of changing the law when there is something beneficial to the taxpayer from the courts. So what is the purpose of entire litigation? Why there is any court in India for the taxation matter? Nonetheless, let us see, but I'm very sure about this thing that when they will see the courtroom, both of these provisions, 36(4) and 86(a), they are going to be withdrawn, they are going to be quashed by the respective courts. Then ITC on the medical facilities provided to the employees. So if you will remember, section 17(5), section 17(5)(b) to be precise, it provides a list of the items which are not eligible for input tax credit. So amongst those items, there are food items, catering, rent-a-cab service, medical items, medical insurance, and health services. All of these things are ineligible for the input tax credit. So now there is an order of MHA. So in the same section in 17(5)(b), there is a proviso which says that if it is mandated by any law for the time being in force, then it will be allowed, right? So now the MHA's order under the Disaster Management Act, it says that now you can open your factory or your industry or company, but then you are required to provide the medical facility to your employees. We are required to provide the sanitizer, the hand sanitizers, the mask, and the proper cleaning and all of those medical equipments for testing their fever, that is the heat machines and all for the employees. And you're also required to provide the medical insurance. So earlier the input tax credit of all of these items were not available. So this may happen that earlier also some of the companies were paying for the premium of their medical insurance for their employees, but input tax credit was not allowed. But now the input tax credit will be allowed because it is mandated by a law for the time being in force. There is another question: if there is a circular or order from the Ministry of Home Affairs, will it be have the binding of a law in place? So we need to remember that those notifications are ordinances which are to be incorporated in the Disaster Management Act. So they are the part of a act, and they will very well be covered by the word a law for the timing in force. So that is a law for the timing in force. So that is very important to understand. If you are accounting, or if you are filing returns of some industry and there are some medical expenses which we were disallowing in the earlier regime, we need to take credit of all of those expenses. So this was from my side. Now I would like to take some questions. The first question is of Pankaj ma'am. मेरा दिसंबर से GST return भरना बाकी है. Sir, it's from December. So there is waiver of filing the GST return from February. From February, which was the due date of which was falling in March. So from February to say June, you can file it. But I will suggest you, if you can file it, if you have access to internet, if you can have the data, I will always suggest to file it. It will be better for you to file, right? I never ever suggest anyone to not to do the compliances. If there is any scheme for the traders, so I'm really sorry Ashish ji, there is no specific scheme for the traders. It is only for the manufacturers and the service providers. Is the MSME credit is available to the new MSME? Yes, Kamaldeep ji, let me from your question I got this idea that let me tell you the process how we can get this MSME benefit. First of all, you are required to register at Udyog Aadhaar. So MSME is now called Udyog Aadhaar, right? So you can go to the MSME website, and Udyog Aadhaar registration is very, very simple. You just need to upload your documents, your PAN card, Aadhaar card, and you can take that registration. Only after that you will be eligible for any scheme under the MSME. So first thing you need to do is to take your Udyog Aadhaar. Udyog Aadhaar, there is written that there is no fees or no charges for applying the Udyog Aadhaar. And if somebody is asking you for the charges, so maybe they can ask for the professional charges like registering at your part, but there is no charge. It's free of cost. So you can simply go to this website and you can register yourself. Mask and hand gloves purchased for the safety, ITC will be available. I don't think there is tax on these items. Mr. Murli Krishna Prasad Potukuchi, he said whether MSME registration is compulsory. Yes, MSME registration is compulsory. It's called Udyog Aadhaar, it's compulsory. How to register MSME for services? Sir, you will go to the Udyog Aadhaar portal, and there you will got the option. They will ask you whether you are a manufacturer or a service provider. Ma'am, Rajan K, he's saying, ma'am, our ITC is accumulated very much. We cannot claim refund under the inverted tax rate method. Credit on services is excluded from refund. I'm really very sorry. Although this provision is also under litigation. So some professionals in Jaipur, Rajasthan, they have filed against this provision that one second, what was his name? Rajanji, if you will see under the law in CGST Act, there is no bar for this refund. But under the rules, they have provided a bar. So if your client is like that big that they can go to some kind of litigation, you should proceed towards the litigation. Or if they can't, then you should wait for the result of other cases which were already filed by the other clients. If we do not file the 3B by 5th May 2020 for the entity having turnover more than 5 crore rupees, then we take the benefit of lower interest rate of 9%. Let me, Prateek, summarize that part for you, for everyone here. So let's say if your due date was, say, 20th of April. Now add 15 days, so it will be 5th of March, 5th of May. So there is no interest, no late fees if you file it by 5th of May. If you will file it after 5th of May, there will be 9% interest. So I think this is the answer for Prateek's question. There will be 5%, so there will be 9% interest, right? So you can file it with 9% interest. But remember, If you still don't file it after the June, till the June 30th, so there are different dates like 1st July, 2nd July, June 30 or June 27, 29, like it is in the the letter wise dates. So if you don't file it by the due date, which is falling under the June, you will be liable for the full late fees. I'm saying it again, full late fees and full interest. So it is only when you will fulfill the condition of filing it before the June. So this is relaxation, and this is a conditional relaxation. So if the condition is not fulfilled, there will be no relaxation. Anup's question I will taking, ma'am, banks offer 20% on outstanding. Does it mean credit utilized or sanctioned? Great. So it's sanctioned credit. What's the meaning of automatic loan for MSME of rupees 3 lakh crore? Sir, automatic loan doesn't mean that they will just transfer the amount into your account. Automatic loan means you will be eligible and it will be with very less compliance. So you can take it with very few compliances. From where loan to MSME as per new packages will be available? Twinkle is asking. Ma'am, you will have to contact the bank. And again, I will say, as I told you earlier, like when you go to the private banks, they bluntly say that we don't give the MSME loan. So I think you should go to some PSU bank and get the details of the forms and other compliances from there. How can I apply for MSME benefit related to COVID-19? Anishi, first of all, you need to decide which particular benefit you are falling in, and then you need to, go to the relevant bank and ask them for the credit. Now, ITC on medical expenditure is allowed. Yes, sir. Ranjan Bansalji, it is allowed. To the extent it is covered by that order of MHA. How can a software company get the benefit of this package? We have MSME registration. Sir, you first of all you need to understand your credit requirement, and then calculate your credit requirement, prepare your papers, and then you can go to bank and get it processed there. Is it possible to give little explanation on GST about car rental and hotel bills? It's Soumya Shetty. Ma'am, how far the car rentals are covered? I mean, it's very restrictive term. Car rentals, generally, no input tax credit is allowed. There can be two phases of it, like you didn't explain it, but let me take the both phases of this transaction. I am a company, I am providing the car rental services. Whether I'll be eligible to take the input tax credit of car I'm purchasing? Yes, I will be eligible for it. Now you are a company and you took the car rental services. So unless and until you are providing outward services of same category as a composite of mixed supply, you will not be eligible for that credit. For the hotel bills, now again, if the hotel is located in another state and you are located in a different state, you will not be eligible for that input tax credit. Shivaji is saying, tell me the procedure for MSME loan application. So for that, you will have to contact the banks, because ultimately the application will be processed by the banks only. Ma'am, interest on GSTR 3B is applicable for turnover above 5 crore rupees at reduced rate, where interest will be applicable from actual last date. So last date or 15%, 50 plus 15 days after that. So up to 15 days, there is no interest. Can I take 100% input for the April also? So you need to check the date of that letter of MHA. After that date, you will be eligible for all the credits. I registered for GST last week for my mother for small food business, which I run at home. Okay. Vivek Saru. Vivek ji, you need to file GSTR 3B monthly, but for the time being, you can file GSTR 3B by 30th of June for all of the months. Then there is GSTR 1, that is a detail of outward supply. You need to file it quarterly, because if, as I can sense from your question, your business is new and your turnover is less than 5 crore rupees. So you can file the GSTR 1 quarterly. Might you forget my personal and company return financial year 18-19, but nobody could help me. I have refund pending 2 lakh and above. My personal and company return financial year. Mr. Dilip, are you talking about the GST return or income tax return? I'm not getting it. Sorry. Mahendra for traders, no, for traders, Udyog Aadhar is not eligible. Can I avail the service tax credit for transportation of imported capital goods through TRAN1? See, if you were eligible that particular credit in your earlier regime, so if that credit was eligible, so for the condition of transition of credit from the earlier regime to this regime was, if it was an eligible credit in that regime and it is still eligible credit in GST regime. If it is barred in any of those two regimes, it will not be eligible. You will not be eligible for it. So, and if you actually want to take it, Mr. Benny, I would like to suggest you to file GST TRAN1 as soon as possible manually to the department. See, Nayan, Khandur is asking eligibility of refunds for those invoices which are not reflected in GST or 2A. Sir, you are not eligible. That is the recent change. But I am telling you that when this provision will see the courtrooms, and it will definitely see a lot of courtrooms in India, right? It will not sustain at that point of time. But again, like if government will make a retrospective change from 2017, what we are going to do? It's like, yes, the payment to of MSME company by company with 45, so it's still applicable. Is it easy to for the one to file GST by itself? Vivek, it's quite easy. You just need to understand your liability, give your sales, and if you're using your some kind of software, you can very easily do it. Even if you are not using and you're an individual, you can file your return easily. Is intermediary services provided outside India to the same branch or agent? Whether yes, the GST is applicable and it is not export and there is no refund. So these were the major questions. Now I would like to, wind up my presentation. So I would like to wind up with saying that uh, I can sense there is a lot of negativity around us. Lots of businesses are collapsing, but see that after this kind of period, there will be a boom, and there will be a boom in so many businesses. We will be more sensible, we will be more restrictive, and we will be more controlled. We will be with more precaution, but see, we are human, and this is the basic human nature to overcome with every difficulty. Like, have you ever noticed that, like, as a human, if you will see a problem, the first thing you will trying to do will be to find its solution. So if you are going somewhere and you will see that, okay, there is a branch of trees on the road, and due to that, say water is clogged, or say traffic is barred, what will we do as a human? The first thing we think is, okay, just remove this thing, because it is our basic nature to find out the solution to various problems. So whenever we see any problem, the first thing we try to do is to find its solution. That is something which makes us human, and we definitely will find a solution for the COVID. And to an extent, we have already find the solution. We are using the protections, various protection. We are using masks, we are using sanitizers, we are avoiding the uh, unnecessary rush out of the house. So earlier we were used to go to everywhere without any reason. And how far I remember earlier, like while we are talking to client, every time client will say, okay, come for a meeting. And I will say, sir, let us have a Skype call. It's not required to come for meeting like each and every time. There is a lot of traffic on the road and everything. And they say, no, okay, no, meeting is better. But now all of these, because it was inbuilt into our habit that, okay, we will meet and we will sit together and then we will discuss. But now people are changing. See, we have a con call every evening with our entire team. We are even celebrating the birthdays and new joinings, or even the farewell with the cumulative calls or the Skype calls, or with some use of some software we are doing the various kind of calls. So there is a lot of opportunity in this thing. And I will say ki our expenses are actually reducing because of this thing. The expenses of running an office, moving outside and inside, and there are a lot of hectic schedule which we incorporated into our work culture. So we are going to save a lot of time, and this time we need to focus on the most important things that nature is trying to tell us, that we are focusing at so many useless of things. We were spending a lot of time on the things which were not worth our time, but now we need to focus on the most important things. And the most important thing is that we all are together, the people from every region, from every religion, of every income group, the people of every any caste, creed, or background, all of them are together. All of them are facing the same kind of problem, and all of them are trying to help each other in some way or other. And I would like to appreciate ClearText also. Like most of the corporates are trying it, and ClearText is also trying to benefit the people. So there is a new scheme that if you will spend time on some activities on their site, and you will earn the points from those activities, they will feed the poor kids or poor people who are deprived of basic amenity like food at this point of time, for the point you will earn. And you don't need to spend to earn those points. You just need to read, you just need to spend some time. There is one thing I have noticed about the ClearText. If you will search about anything like for GST related or for DIN, Udyog, Aadhaar or something, you will find the best written article, the best written content on the web, and that will be of ClearText. So you just need to go to that content. You're reading, you're increasing your knowledge, you are spending the time, and you are earning the points, and those points are feeding someone else. I think that can be the best feeling for everyone. And this point of time, you can utilize this time. And I have seen that CIRC, WIRC, all of our institute, what study circles, and the different kind of group, all of them are trying to organize a lot of learning sessions from the people, because earlier we were just focused on earning and we were never even focused on learning. But at this point of time, I've seen that people are so focused about learning. So if you want to join a course, you can also join a course on GST at our website, that is consultees.com. So we have various courses on GST with the famous lawyers and advocates who will just give you a quick orientation and grooming how you can make your career into it. Because so many of us are not doing our best just because we don't have a proper orientation in life. We actually don't understand what we are supposed and how we are required to move forward. So we collect the bestest of the speakers, and then we try to make them imparting the knowledge to the others. So there are webinars, there are recordings with the presentations with them, though they can be accessed anytime. You can access them in future anytime. So these kind of courses are there on our website. You can access them. And this is the ClearText program, and you can definitely take advantage of this program. And now I would like to hand over to Mr.
Ashraf Ali.
Manoj, CA Manoj. I would like to hand over to him, and he will explain you something about this program and how you can help the needy people and those poor people who are deprived of food at this point of time. I would like to hand over to Mr. Manoj.
First of all, I would like to thank you for taking this wonderful session and taking out time to answer the queries of the viewers. So most of the people are aware of Compliance to Care milestone program from ClearText. So during these difficult times, we would like to join our hands to help the one in need. So ClearText brings an initiative along with the Uday Foundation, in which we will distribute the food sponsored meals on your behalf. All you need to do is to be more compliant through ClearText. So I will post the link here so that you can enroll in this. Let me present my screen as well. Yeah. So I request everyone to fill the form and sign up to ClearText. During this session itself, you can earn 50 points. So in this session, so I will tell you how to get a points in this session. So this is the program. So in this program, there are 3 milestones: 50 steps, 50 points, 80 points, and 100 points. So for 50 points, which you earn, you will sponsor one meal on behalf of you through ClearText. And for 80 points, you will sponsor 3 meals, and for 100 points, you will sponsor 5 meals to the poor who are in need. So along with this, sponsoring a meal, you will get a discount in our online course for 3600 if you are in the first milestone. And if you are moving to the second milestone of 80 points, you will get 4800 off on the online course and 500 off on the ClearTax site. And on the third platform, that is 100 points, you will sponsor a meal for five people, and there will be a discount of 4800 on the online course and 1000 off on the ClearTax. So how to gain points? So once you log into ClearTax, ClearTax is having 3 platforms: one for the GST, one for the tax cloud, one for the TDS. So on logging to the any of these platforms, you will get 10 points each, so that cumulatively you will earn 30 points. Later, when you are logged into GST software or TDS software, we provide n number of reports. So if you are downloading any of the reports on the ClearTax side, you will get 20 points. So on downloading just 2 reports, you will get 40 points. So you will be getting 70 points here itself. And after this, you can do the filing also on the GST file, on the GST ClearTax, like GSTR1, GSTR3B, GSTR9. And on tax load, you can file the income tax returns and TDS returns on the TDS platform. So on doing every filing, you will get 20 points each here. So on accumulator, and we have one more very useful tool here, reconciliation under GST. This is to climb the maximum ITC. Like if you are doing the ITC, you will be getting 20 points on this. So next, up to 500 points, if you are doing more activities, you will be getting more number of reward points. So on the top 5 scorers will get a option to get featured on the ClearTax YouTube channel. We'll be doing a separate webinar with you. Get a chance to be a part of the panel discussion with ClearTax expert, and you can get a discount of 100% on the ClearTax GST software. So let's look into the terms and conditions, how this webinar will work, how this milestone will work. So who all can participate? Like all the users who are registered with ClearTax can participate here. CS, tax practitioners, SMEs. So I have never used ClearTax platform. That means you are new to the ClearTax platform. If you sign up to the ClearTax, then you can complete the above mentioned activities, or those 3 activities on the 3 software, and can earn 30 points. If I'm an existing user, if you're an existing user, you will get an option on the mail to opt in to this program. So on that platform, you will be registered. Do I need to pay anything? No, we are not collecting anything from your pockets. ClearTax is going to contribute on behalf of you to the poor. So activities which I have already discussed, let me show you on the ClearTax platform. So let's go to compliance to care link. Here, enter your mail ID. So once you enter your details, it will take you to the ClearTax platform. There you have to sign up here. And enter your password. So if you're a new user, it will ask you to create your profile. So I am selecting myself as GST practitioner, and I am giving my basic details. So here you can see I logged into GSTN software. It is asking me to add the GSTN because I am a new user. So I am adding the GSTN over here. So now you will be getting 10 points for doing this activity. So on every week you will get a mail for your score, how much you have earned during this period for a week. So this program will start is already started from May 1st to 31st May. It will continue till May 31st. So if you're going to the report section and generating any of the report, for example, health check report, which is very useful report in ClearTax, you'll have all the click on generate report and generate the report, provide the details in your login credentials, then you will be able to generate report. On generating this report, you will get 20% points here. And let me take you to the other products also. So from this dashboard, like you can click on all products and you can see what all ClearTax have. One is the tax cloud to file your income tax filing, and Clear TDS to file your TDS returns. So now I am logging to the tax cloud. So on completing your profile, you will get the reward points here. So I have earned 50 points more here on doing the successful sign-in. So in a similar way, like on doing all the complaints, you will be getting the more number of points so that you will be able to contribute more to the society through ClearTax. So I hope this session is very useful to you, and please be part of this Compliance to Care program, milestone program, so that you can contribute more to the society with us. And please subscribe to our channel for getting the same session on YouTube. Yeah. You can post your live questions here so that our experts will answer. And everyone go to the link and please contribute to the Compliance to Care activity initiative from ClearTax. Thank you so much for attending this session.